Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. This is a two-part live pertaining to the missing boys out of Cal City and the disappearance of Summer Wells. I was going to originally talk about the bio family of Summer Wells, and lo and behold, I got this information late pertaining to the Cal City boys, and I think it's only befitting that I talk about both in the same live due to the fact that I just acquired this information pertaining to a lawsuit filed by the bio donor of the children or child out of Cal City. So this is a two-part live pertaining to two different cases, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and get started because both have lengthy information to read. So I'm going to start off with KGET 17 News. Oh, Lord have mercy. Never stops. Let me see. Thanks for joining me. Hello, everybody in the chat. Let's see if I've got a video to play here.
Someone must know something. If you have any of those answers or feel you can help, please call Kern Secret Witness. You can remain anonymous. Call 661-322-4040. In California City, contact the California City Police tip line at 855-227-3656. With your help, we can all answer the question, where are the boys? I'm Christian Galeno for 17 News.
Let me play that again.
If you have...
1 second.
Out there, someone must know something. If you have any of those answers or feel you could help, please call Kern Secret Witness. You can remain anonymous. Call 661-322-4040. In California City, contact the California City Police tip line at 855-227-3656. With your help, we can all answer the question, where are the boys? I'm Christian Galeno for 17 News.
Okay, so this is obviously a new reporter working on the case. The content is by Jason Kotowski and Perla Shaheen. This was uploaded 5 days ago. If you have any information pertaining to the disappearance of the two California City boys, please contact the Kern Secret Witness hotline at 661-322-4040 or California City Police. Well, they jumped it off. Lord have mercy. I should have known that. I'll read it at the, I'll bring it back up. The said information. Hello, Crystal Moore. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Okay. Let's see. Brothers Orson and Orrin West have now been missing for a year. No word, no trace. The boys went missing from California City home of their adoptive parents. The biological family continues to organize monthly community prayers as a way of keeping the names of the boys in the limelight and preventing their case from going cold with hopes of finding them once again. It's a case that has captured and captivated many in Kern County and across the nation. The following is a timeline of public events in the case. December 15th, toy drive underway in the honor of missing Cal City boys and Orrin West. Almost 1 year after Orrin and Orson West went missing, the community held a toy drive in their honor. October 21st, biological father Orson and Orrin West remains hopeful. 10 months after their disappearance from California City. 10 months later, the boys remain missing. Orrin and Orson West's biological father spoke with 17 News about his experience dealing with the boys' disappearance, and the community held a prayer vigil. September 21st, California City boys Orson and Orrin West remained missing 9 months later. The boys have been missing for 9 months. The community has been holding monthly prayer events for them. July 7th, 200 days after Orrin and Orson West were reported missing, the Bakersfield Police Department gives 17 News an update on the case. This is at 200 days later. June 1st, BPD Chief Greg Terry discusses latest in the case of missing West boys. BPD releases new information on the case. 44 search warrants have been served, 83 people interviewed, and 170 items seized in investigation into the disappearance of two California City toddlers, Bakersfield police said Tuesday. That was June 1st. Now, April 21st. We're backtracking. The boys have been missing for 4 months. The Bakersfield Police Department is not reporting any new developments, but say they have not given up the search. The activists that have gotten involved with the search themselves continue to hope for a happy ending to the story. March 31st. Bakersfield Police Department Public Information Officer Sergeant Robert Pear joined 17 News at sunrise to discuss the disappearance of 4-year-old Orrin and 3-year-old Orson West in California City. They were reported missing 100 days ago. March 29th. Mayor Kern County releases video message on Orrin and Orson West. The mayor of Bakersfield released a video message Monday afternoon discussing the investigation to find 4-year-old Orrin and 3-year-old Orson West. March 28th. Wanda West, the adoptive grandmother of Orrin and Orson West, released a statement asking the community to continue searching for her grandsons. She writes about losing Orrin and Orson, but also her other 4 grandsons. When Child Protective Services took them in protective custody, West pleads with the community to continue to search for Orrin and Orson. She wrote, "Someone knows exactly where Orrin and Orson are and what happened in December. Come forward. God and our family has already forgiven you, and you will be free from the guilt and burden I know you are carrying. These are babies who are loved and have an entire future waiting for them to explore. Release them and yourself from this. All we want are the boys back," quote unquote. March 19th. The reward for information leading to the missing California City boys, Orrin and Orson West, now stands at $125,000. That's an increase of $2,000 from the previous amount. The new money coming from another $1,000 through the YouTube channel of Ron Licciardi and $1,000 from Bakersfield resident Jennifer Nobles. March 15th, the Bakersfield Police Department confirmed that it served a search warrant March 12th at the home of Orrin and Orson West's adoptive grandmother as a part of its investigation into their disappearance. The department did not provide any additional information about the warrant, saying that limited information is being provided to protect the integrity of the investigation and ultimately safeguard any facts from being tainted. The public is strongly discouraged from making assumptions of guilt and dissemination of rumor and speculation. Of rumor and speculation. March 9th. A group that follows cases involving child victims has paid for 2 billboards in Wichita, Kansas, asking for information regarding the missing boys. March 8th, speculation about what happened to the boys has resulted in online arguments and finger pointing and the arrest of a man on misdemeanor warrants after he had a confrontation with the neighbor. March 6th, Bakersfield police and personnel from other agencies searched a field in the area of Cottonwood and East Pacheco Roads in connection with the investigation. The boys were not found, and police said they could not say what led them to the field because they need to preserve the integrity of the investigation. March 3rd, Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry discusses the case with 17 News. March 1st, the Bakersfield Police Department becomes the lead agency investigation in the boys' disappearance. February 21st, online groups from across the country and overseas have formed online communities tracking the case and sharing information. February 19th, protesters gathered outside the Department of Human Services building in a rally to continue raising awareness of the case. February 14th, the biological family of Orson and Orrin West said it was raising money to put up more billboards about the missing boys. February 2nd, we just want answers. Candlelight prayer held in Bakersfield for 2 missing Cal City boys. A candlelight prayer was held outside the home in Bakersfield where the boys lived before they were adopted. February 1st, California City Police and federal agents revisited the home of the Orson boys' adopted parents this Monday morning with special equipment that sends a signal to the ground to see if there's anything underneath. Nothing was found during the visit, according to the police. And inside of this video, you will see the men who were working on the team and using their equipment in the neighboring adjacent lot to the said West home. January 25th, candlelight vigil scheduled for Monday in honor of 2 missing California City boys. The California City Police Department is asking for residents to report anyone seen trespassing at the home of missing Orrin and Orson West's adoptive parents. A candlelight vigil was held outside the boys' home Monday evening with those participating praying for the safe return. January 17th, reward money rises to $100,000 for anyone with information leading to the boys' whereabouts. The money has been donated by businesses, churches, adoptive family, and the city. And the church, each offering and a Cal City business at that time was $10,000 for any info that brings the missing boys home. And at that time, total rewards was at $100,000. This was dated January 17th. January 4th, Business offer total $25,000 for anyone who finds two missing boys in California City. Businesses offer a total of $25,000. January 2nd, extended family of the missing boys issued a statement expressing their hopes for the boys' safe return, that they are cooperating with authorities and have involved a team of private investigators. The statement said family members have been advised to avoid the public because of the intensity and the amount of threats they had received. The West home in California City has been targeted by rocks and attempted break-ins, according to the statement. December 29th, Chief of Police in California City gives update on two missing boys. Suspects foul play. California City Police Chief John Walker tells the media foul play is suspected and nothing was found when investigators dug up the West family backyard. This was exacted on December 29th, for those who are curious. December 23rd, News 17 at 5. Wednesday, the boys' adoptive parents, Giselle and Jacqueline West, discussed the case with the media. Wednesday night, investigators work under bright lights set up in the family's backyard. It's unclear what, if any, evidence was found. December 22nd, News 17. FBI interviewing adoptive parents of missing California City boys. Wednesday afternoon, adoptive parents speak with media. Giselle and Jacqueline West say they were told by police money to stay in their home during the search. Giselle West explains how the boys went missing, and the couple say they fostered the boys in 2018, then adopted them in 2019. They say they have two other adoptive children and two biological children, all of whom have been removed from the home since the investigation began. The couple say their cell phones and other technological devices were seized by the police. Wednesday afternoon, police searched the home again. December 22nd, Tuesday night, armed with a search warrant, investigators go through the home and leave with the evidence collected in several brown bags and a duffel bag. The adoptive parents' van is told to be searched. Police tell 17 News the FBI is involved and agents question the adoptive parents. Police say the parents are cooperating. December 22nd, sunrise. Boys 3 and 4 are missing from Cal City. Monday, early evening, Orson and Orrin play outside as their adoptive father gathers firewood. According to their adoptive parents, the father, Giselle West, later tells the media he briefly went back inside the house, and when he came out, the boys were gone. He says he drove through nearby streets and spoke with neighbors but couldn't find them. Monday, around 6 p.m., the boys' adoptive parents report them missing. 8 p.m., California City sends out a news release that provides a description of the boys, but not their names or photographs. That information is released hours later. Monday night, volunteers and police search areas near where the boys went missing. Police bring canines to the home. The dogs find the boys' scent inside the house, but not outdoors. Tuesday, around 9 a.m., with daylight, volunteers continue to search and spread through the surrounding area. They find nothing. Tuesday afternoon, police take the adoptive parents in for further questioning. If you need verification for anything that you've heard in this said live, it can be verified by kget.com. I will now play information from the bio father. He was interviewed by this same network, KGET. If you need verification for the said information, thank you so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you want to donate to the channel, $BigAngie 129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome during the live. Amen. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Story of two boys missing from their California City home. Toddlers vanished from a backyard, leaving more questions than answers. In an exclusive interview, Charles Pettis, the brother's biological father, tells us about the pain that only a parent could possibly understand.
Yeah, I think the day that they have put the report on the news that the kids were missing, and then somebody told me to look on Facebook, and I don't have social media, but I was going through family members' phones, and they were showing it, and we watched the news, and that's how we found out. We didn't even know that they sent them out to some different people.
Headline after headline, Pettis was left in disbelief, shocked by descriptions of how the adoptive parents had left his boys unattended.
It's real obvious that y'all already knew that these kids was outside, and basically saying that these kids were outside unattended, and y'all go back in the house to the other kids and come back outside and these kids are gone. Y'all know what happened. Y'all know what was going on. Y'all know what was up. All of that was happening. Everything was janky. That it wasn't nothing right.
From that day forward, a part of Pettis has been missing.
They took my family. They took my life away from me. My kids is my life. That's my family.
Pettis clings to hope his children will return.
Not making no sense, but I'm just waiting for it to all come together and my kids come home. That's about it. Don't nobody know what's going on with them. They can be anything could be happening to them, and they could be perfectly fine too. But it's not right.
The father has felt the pain of losing a child in an out-of-state car accident a decade ago. The child was under the care of Pettis' partner at the time, emotions that he would never want to have to relive again, especially if this case ends in the worst way possible.
But I will never put a doubt to my kid in the dead. I would hate to go through that all over again. It's hard to close that hole once it's open. So I don't want my kids to be deceased. I want them to come back home because if my kids is all I got. After my parents go, it's just me and my kids.
Silence from the adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West, simply adds salt to the wound.
They have no words, so I have no words either. They know what happened. Don't try to hide it, Whatever you do in the dark come to light anyway. So if they did do something, they'd be in trouble for it. I'm gonna sit up here and just, try to rattle my brain. Hopefully, they'll come in, hopefully pop up, by the grace of God. Maybe, what I mean? That these people just need to just let it go and just let your kids go and let my kids come back home because, that don't make no sense.
There are answers out there. Someone must know something. If you have any of those answers or feel you could help, please call Kern Secret Witness. You can remain anonymous. Call 661-322-4040. In California City, contact the California City Police tip line at 855-227-3656. With your help, we can all answer the question, where?
Remarkable women in the
Thank you so much. Sorry about that, you guys.
Who are the remarkable women in your life? Scan this QR code to nominate someone or visit AGET.
This is the worst device ever. This thing, like the volumes do not like to work for some reason. Sorry about that. Okay, that was Mr. Pettis speaking on behalf of the children. You also hear information that he did lose a child before in a car wreck out of town. Information I had not heard before. Many of you know I have very strong feelings about this storyline. I became public enemy number one when I talked about this story. I do not sugarcoat anything. If you're looking for someone to sugarcoat a story, period. Doesn't matter if it's about planting flowers or picking up rocks off the side of the road. I'm not the channel that you're looking for. And I'm going to go ahead and say that to you before I get started. If you have anything you want to bring forth, the allegation of anything pertaining to any stories that I talk about, bring me a receipt, because everything has been gossip and he said, she said in all the stories that I talk about. All the stories to me are the same. It doesn't matter if they're black people, white, Hispanic, Jewish, Arab. They're all the same to me. Everything is built on somebody else's version. And until somebody can provide a receipt with an allegation, then it's just his word and her word. And that's how I'm going to leave it when I start this live. If you get too jiggy in this live, you will be blocked. I'm going to tell you that up front, because I'm not about to play any games with any of you. Because in the end, you do not know these people. This is a two-part live. Let me make this clear. You do not know the Bio family of Cal City. You do not know Jacqueline and Trezell West. You do not know the Bio family of Summer Wells. You don't know the Bio family of Summer Wells. So therefore, you don't know anything you can't say. But what you can go on is what's been offered to you by their actions and their demeanors. And that is how I judge my content on my channel pertaining to a story. It's what you bring to the table. Not what Pookie said, Ray said. Okay? As most of you know, in this story, Cal City, I brought you a source who had information pertaining to the Bio mother and how the children came to be out of her custody. And I don't have to go into all of that, but I wanted to bring you all the information that I can. There is more information pertaining to these children, more videos in this KGET. They've done a lot of bio work on here, so I'm going to backtrack to play you the audio of the said information, because obviously they have a lot of videos and I don't want to leave anything out. Thank you for joining me. For some reason they're not playing loud. The sound's not good on here. I want to play this video, but the sound is very low that's inside of this article. For some reason, I don't know why they've got the volume so low. You can't even hear what the people are saying. Well, let me go on to my next. If you want to verify any of the information yourself, KGET.com is the source, a timeline of events in the case of the missing California City boys Orson and Orrin West. The title of my video is pertaining to the family filing a lawsuit. KGET 17 is the source. Thank you for joining me. 1 year later, missing Cal City boys' biological family filed a lawsuit against county. This is uploaded 1 week ago. As a biological family of brothers Orson and Orrin West mark a year since their son's disappearance, frustration and worn patience are fueling action by the Pettis family. Somebody knows what's going on, said Charles Pettis, the biological father of the boys. If you did something, let people know, because you're hurting people's kids. You're taking family away from family. These were babies. Attorneys Antonio Castillo and Darren Ritchie are part of a Beverly Hills law firm representing the Pettis family in a suit against Kern County. Kern Child Protective Services took the boys from their biological parents and placed them with Jacqueline and Trezell West. That suit alleges the county was negligent to take the boys from their birth parents, Pettis and his mother, Brenda, and placed them in the custody of the West family, which adopted the boys and had custody when they disappeared. And inside of this commentary, you can hit the link to see the actual lawsuit against the city. The suit also alleges wrongful death. Now, ding, 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 bingo card. So that means you've already decided that the children are dead. That is going to be tied into this video. Okay? DNA was asked from family members of the bio family. If you did not know, I'm bringing you this content as I'm talking. And the fact that this is in the report of wrongful death means perhaps Bakersfield, Cal City believes the children are no longer alive. That's obvious. Because it says the suit also alleges wrongful death. Oh my goodness. Hold on 1 second. You all are going to have to watch the chat. If you can't watch the chat, I have to dismember it. I can't read the information and watch the chat at the same time. Mercy. All right, thank you. So I guess you all got that. Thank you. Because what shows up on my computer monitor doesn't show up on my phone. As I was saying, Castillo, the lawyer, says that allegation is based on reports that human remains have been found near where the boys were reported missing in California City. They recently found human remains. It looks like they were found in early November, Castillo said. So the children's father, Mr. Pettis, went in to allow DNA to be collected, see if there was a potential DNA match. But Castillo said he didn't know any specific details about the reported discovery. Bakersfield police declined to comment on the possible discovery of remains and said it is routine to ask family of missing persons to submit DNA samples. Kern County CPS did not have any comment regarding the suit. Ultimately, Pettis family attorney Darren Ritchie said Kern County put the brothers in an unsafe situation and is responsible for whatever happened. We believe that the Kern County Child Protective Services are responsible for their disappearance, Ritchie said. We will see if that turns into more, and it is incumbent upon these bureaucratic government agencies to do more with respect with the lives of children. This is not a puppy that we are taking from one shelter to another. These are human beings. KGET.com is the source. I will play the said commentary as it follows. These are the lawyers representing the Pettis family. Thank you for joining me.
Remarkable women in the Golden Empire.
Sorry about that. Ooh, Lord, they need to do something better with these commercials. Everything you play is commercials. I'm sorry about that. Thank you all so much.
this story is a pretty tragic one all the way around. Just given a constant chain of horrible, tragic events with regard to these kids in this family, the Pettis children, which I know who were since renamed to the Wests prior to their disappearance. I still, obviously, just because of the circumstances, regard them as the Pettis children. And what it was is that starting back in 2018, the kids were taken away from their biological mother and father over allegations of abuse that was occurring, but not from their parents, by another family member. And when this supposed abuse happened, it wasn't even during the presence of their parents. Because obviously kids visit and stay with different family members at different times. And sometimes, unfortunately, families and families by marriage and by extension can have disputes or these allegations arose. But at no point in time were the parents themselves ever accused of anything or even accused of being present while something's happening. Still, outside of that, disregarding all of that, CPS took them and put them into foster care. Now, because of the nature of how Child Protective Services work, the parents themselves did not have any sort of input or say, weren't even made aware as to the process of putting their kids in foster care and who that family would be. But this also includes the grandparents. And the thing of it is we find it very curious that one, the CPS even removed the kids under these circumstances, but two, because after this happened, the grandparents reached out to CPS and said that they would be more than happy to take custody of the kids and keep them in their care. And of course, the grandparents weren't named or alleged to have any participation in these prior allegations. They're like, we love our grandkids. The kids should be with family. Please place them with us. We're more than happy to take custody of them. That went nowhere. CPS just largely ignored them, placed them with the foster family, the Wests, who I believe is a family that already had another handful of foster kids as part of their family. Then, despite the grandparents reaching out and saying that they would like to take custody, and also the parents saying that they would please like a chance to get their kids back, not only were they placed with this foster family, but then this foster family was allowed to legally adopt them. And again, at no point in time was the Pettis family, either the parents or their grandparents, notified by CPS of everything that was happening. Fast forward to 2020, while both of them were in their care, a little 3-year-old, a little 4-year-old, they of course go missing. Now the circumstances of them going missing are just, they raise an eyebrow at the very least, so to speak. As I understand it, the stories of the Wests have changed over time. I think at one point they said that the kids were in the backyard while the family was inside, wrapping their Christmas presents. They didn't want to see the kids to see. Another supposed scenario has come out where the father says that he was out getting firewood and the kids were with them. All of them just are really suspect, and I don't know anyone that puts out 2 little toddlers, 3 years old and 4 years old, outdoors, unsupervised, while they, supposedly wrap Christmas presents. But anyways, that's what happened. The kids go missing. And of course, they were missing for nearly a year until, obviously, unfortunately, remains were discovered not too far from the home where they were.
Wait, remains have been found?
Remains have been found. They have not confirmed that they are the children. However, they are currently, I believe the father was brought in so that they could draw some DNA for him and do some DNA matching with remains. And we have not heard of The results of that, as of yet, as I understand it, is still being investigated. They're still trying to see if the remains are a DNA match for the kids.
Do you have a date of when these were found, or?
1 second, let me check the file out really quick here. This was a recent development.
Because that was something that I was wondering about in the complaint. One of the complaints is wrongful death.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you guys do use presumed wrongful death.
Right, because it had been so long and they hadn't been found. But now, as I said, they recently found human remains. It looks like that was in the beginning of November. And so the children's father, Mr. Charles, Mr. Pettis, went in to allow blood to be drawn so that they could see if there was a potential DNA match with the remains of Sincere and Pleasant. And again, I'm referring to the kids' birth names that were given by their parents, as opposed to the adopted names of things Orrin and Orson.
So, in an instance like this, in a case like this, with what they have, how confident do you guys feel that the law is going to side with the Pettis family?
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing, right? Up until now, quite unfortunately, the law has not sided with them. The law took these kids away from the parents without any sort of just cause. Then the law refused to put these kids with their loving grandparents, despite the grandparents reaching out and saying that they would very much like that to happen. And then the law just went ahead and allowed them to be adopted by this family who clearly was not appropriately vetted, and without letting the Pettis family know. So thus far, it's been constant a situation where the law has done nothing but bad things for these two kids who are Sincere and Classic. And so now we're hoping that by bringing everything to light and through this lawsuit, that perhaps at the very least some sort of measure of accountability can be brought as to why the whole process with CPS happened the way that it happened. Why were they placed with this family? And why is it now that the kids have been gone for close to a year and likely, unfortunately, were probably murdered? The state and the county need to account for what they did to the Pettis boys and what they did to the family. Because were this not to happen, these kids would still be, if not with their parents, at the very least with their grandparents and a loving home full of them. So, and obviously that's not the case.
Yeah, this is a case we feel strongly about, and certainly you brought up an issue. We pride ourselves on being lawyers, not just attorneys, which means that we've got to get creative in pursuing aggressively all of our claims. And not every case fits perfectly into a mold that is a rubber stamp for a judgment and making sure that we win. This one is unique. CPS is going to certainly say that they did everything they could to place the children in the proper home. But, it appears to us, I don't want to disparage anybody, and the evidence has not been vetted out yet, but the family they placed these children with look to be more interested in money than to be assisting and developing young children who have been abandoned for whatever reason. They saw it as an income stream, and for whatever reason, we believe they weren't a proper home and they weren't responsible. And we believe that they are responsible for the disappearance, and we'll see if that turns into more. And it's incumbent upon these bureaucratic government agencies to do more with respect to the lives of children. We're not just taking a puppy from one shelter to another. These are human beings. And that needs express care that we don't believe was provided.
No, I am curious to also, just know, like, how did you guys pick up this case? Was it something that you guys were, like, interested? Did the family approach you guys? You guys can talk to me a little bit about that.
This is a referral case, and oftentimes people who have hired us to have, aggressive positions in cases will, get a great result where they weren't even able to be entertained as having a lawsuit filed by a firm prior to meeting us because of challenges with regard to legal implications of the case. And that's exactly how these folks came to us. We did a great job on a wrongful death case. I believe this came from a wrongful death case at a shooting range where we had to have creative and brilliant legal arguments, if I must say so myself. And I guess, one person knew another and said, this is the person that you should call if you're really seeking justice. And he pursues these issues on behalf of people, not on behalf of money. And so I think that's how it came to our lap. Somebody's got to be responsible. Society can't be a place where two children, 3 and 4 years old, beautiful human being, beautiful baby boys just disappear and then nobody asks any questions. I certainly won't allow that to happen. And I might just be doing my very small part of a sprinkle in an ocean, if you will. But we're going to stay on this until we get some justice.
Cool. Now, obviously, this is the big, I guess, smoking gun here that we have is the fact that if these remains do turn out to be the children, is this something that's been confirmed to you guys by BPD, by law enforcement? Who have you guys?
Right now, everything is still under investigation. We've received no confirmation that any remains that have been located are the Pettis children or are not. So right now, everything is just still kind of, up in the air.
But there was confirmation that some sort of remains were found. But
they have located remains. I believe that the location of the remains were not too far away from where the kids were last known to be with the West family. However,
Cal City or in Bakersfield?
From where they ended up going missing from, which I believe was it.
He don't even know.
Lord have mercy. Cal City.
Jesus, what?
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. And then you said
Man.
This was like around November, beginning of November?
Right around then.
Okay.
Mercy.
All right. Anything else that you guys would like to share in this case? What do you guys hope to sort of see happen? I mean, you guys sort of talked a little bit about that as well, but I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to sort of share with us as well?
Well, yeah, as I was saying, this is really a case about accountability. There was just a string of catastrophic events and just a dominoes of one horrible negligent event after the other from these kids being taken away from their parents in the first place. And then for extended family and grandparents not being able to get the opportunity to take custody of the kids. And then for the kids to be adopted out without so much of a notice or hearing or any sort of due process for the biological family. And then quite clearly, the CPS did not do their due diligence and vetting this West family. As I said, other foster children, and perhaps are making a bit of a business out of taking these kids into their home. And then also, further quite clearly, the facts, and as Darren said, the evidence is yet to come into play, but the stories are so wildly different in the circumstances of their disappearance that something horrible happened to these beautiful children. And I think that there are multiple levels of negligence and multiple levels of people not doing the right thing that have led to this. And really, it's just about accountability. We're going to do what we can as best as we can to hold those people accountable.
Have you guys heard back anything from the county? Have they responded to the complaint yet? Do you guys have an idea if this is going to go to trial?
They have not, as of yet, responded to the complaints. I suspect that should be coming shortly. Once they do respond and we kind of get our initial communication for that response out of the way, we will have a better idea of how it is they plan to defend this case.
Okay. So right now, you guys are kind of just waiting for that confirmation if it is those children.
Yeah, we are waiting to hear from the investigators as to confirmation as to whether it is or is not the Pettis case. So,
hypothetically speaking, if those remains are not identified as the boys, is there still a case?
we believe that there still is. As Darren said, this is not a cookie cutter type case. This is a case that is truly meant for true lawyering. The certain statutes that are in place weren't necessarily meant to accommodate a situation as unique as this. But we do believe that within our legal system, there is some form of remedy for the Pettis family, albeit it's going to take some artful arguments.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Remarkable women in the Golden Empire. I'm 17 Maddie Jansen.
KGET is the source. Let me go ahead and get started because I'm already 41 minutes in. Start with the obvious. When were the remains found? What day in November? Why was that information not released to the public? Due to the fact that these children have been missing, at that time would have been almost a year. Why would you not release that information? There would have to be a reason why law officials, sheriff, whomever, the CBI would not want to release that information that they found remains. Now, are the remains of one human or two human? Obviously, they're assuming that they are, or they look like children, small remains, for this to even go forward, for them to go to the bio family for DNA. So let's start at the beginning. When were the remains found? Why weren't it ever released to the public that remains were found? When did you go to the bio family? Which bio family did you go to directly? The bio mother, Ryan Dean, and this Mr. Pettis? Anybody else? How long will it take to get the results back? What's the 411 on the storyline of the remains and it not being released to the public? As far as CPS, I don't know exactly the ins and outs of the story, but the information that I got, and I believe the source, because I do. I think it's very interesting that we're now hearing information that the children belong to this Mr. Pettis and his mother. Okay, so think about what you're saying. If indeed the state just gave the children away from Miss Dean and the mother of this guy and himself, which makes no sense. What are we talking about exactly? You're talking about three separate people, but nobody could keep the children. Think about what you're saying. You took the children from the mother. They were in her possession. There had to be a reason that you removed the children. You didn't just remove two children. You removed one child. You removed two. And the two smallest ones are a year apart. They're not twins. So it's not like you removed twin babies. Okay? One child was removed initially by himself. Not together, from my understanding. The baby was removed second. So you want to put it all on the relatives that came in the house. So where were the children living and staying at the time that their parents aren't negligent as for who they were leaving their children with? Okay? Let's just keep it real. Because you're still talking about two separate incidents, from my understanding, pertaining to two children. One child allegedly had a femur broke or cracked. That's child one. Child two was issues with their lungs and breathing issues. That's two separate incidents. And as I said, two separate children, two separate times being removed. So some of you who don't follow the story and some of you who do follow the story still didn't know that. So now you want me to still keep saying that the state made a mistake. Yeah, they made a mistake, possibly not doing the proper research on Jacqueline and Giselle West. But you removed the children out of Miss Dean's care for a reason. And the two older children were fortunate to have fathers to have taken those older children in. So then you go back to the two babies. Where were their other relatives? And then there's the issue of no one contacted them. So you want me to believe these children were taken and nobody wanted to contact outside relatives to take the children in. We already know how hard it is to place children, period, and that there are not a lot of people readily available to take in children. So, as I said, make me understand this issue of Miss Dean being the first one with the children, then the father's a separate entity alongside his mother. Well, then if the children were removed from Ryan Dean, two separate incidents, two separate times, I don't understand why he couldn't have gotten custody. So their excuse with the lawyer is, well, no one contacted him to tell him that they didn't, that they placed the children. But this is what makes no sense for those that want to make excuses for this storyline that it's all the state's fault. The children got in their care in 18. Allegedly, they also lived with another woman before they went with Jacqueline and Giselle West. Okay? So that means there were stair steps of the children going from place to place. You still want me to believe nobody notified this woman, Mr. Pettis, his mother, the bio mother, Miss Dean, Mr. Pettis, and his mother. Nobody notified these three people about where they're taking and sending the children. But yet the children went to different places during their foster care and adoption process. Why would they not call the people and say, we've moved your child from here and moved your child over here? My big issue is that no one was complying with the rules and regulations to get the children back. And that's what I had heard via the source, is that Miss Dean was not complying. So then if we separate Miss Dean out of the equation, then that leaves Mr. Pettis and his mother. And yet their defense is nobody contacted me. And I also believe Ms. Dean said the same thing. Nobody contacted me to tell me they were placing my children with these people. But see, the gist of the story is Jacqueline and Giselle were not the first people who got the children. Allegedly, they was with a woman who knew Miss Dean. And there was some issue of, allegedly, she was too close to the woman. They got wind, the state, so they took the children out of that woman's care, allegedly. So this is what I'm trying to say. Make it all make sense to me. I know a lot's been left out, small fries, because I know damn well there's too many children in the state of California in foster care that need a family, and they do not have adequate places to place them. So you want me to believe these people aren't reaching out to the parent to say, have you done this, and this, so you can get your child back? Why do people keep wanting to say the state is holding these children hostage when they don't even have anywhere to place the children? So hell, I think they would want you to get back with your parent if they don't have anywhere to place the child, unless the parent, one, is not complying with the rules and regulations to get the child back. Then two, they go where they have to go, to whomever. And that's where I have the problem with this story of the Cal City boys. These two boys allegedly were taken at two different times because the children are not the same age. And they were not removed from Ron Dean's care at the same time, from my understanding. Because you can't have one older than the other and in the same breath say they were removed at the same time. One was removed as a couple of months old, the one with the femur cracked. So that means the second child wasn't even living. Do you understand what I'm saying? The second child wasn't even alive. So that means the children weren't taken at the same time. So how are you going to logically explain the state coming into your personal life and removing two separate kids at two separate times? That's my point, K. Bless. Yes, you should have been calling them about your child. And my understanding is that Ron Dean did not follow the rules as far as the stopping of smoking marijuana to get the children back. Because my understanding is that the second child had breathing issues with their lungs, sat in the NIC unit for 3 weeks without a visit from the mother. And I also heard that the father, nobody came that was related to the children. So you want me to believe these last child in the NIC unit, the state would not have called the family to say, hey, this baby can't breathe. Would you like to come visit the baby? You're going to tell me the state never called nobody for either child. You see, what's the problem is a lot of you don't want to accept the fact that people don't follow the rules to keep their child in the first place. Then when they lose their children, they don't follow the rules to get the kids back. They're not going to call you about your child if you're not following the rules to get your child back. You want the state to chase you to get your child back. Does that make any sense? Why would they chase you to get your child back? They came to you for a reason. Somebody had to have seen something to take your child. So when you say you want to blame the state, then you also need to loop in the doctors. Because it's not the state that took the children. It's the doctor who made the call in 2 separate incidents pertaining to her 2 children. So what you want me to believe now? The doctors had it out for Ryan Dean and Mr. Pettis or whomever. Come on, that's BS and you know it. 2 separate incidents, 2 separate boys, each removed by the state for 2 separate scenarios. So how is it the state's fault that the doctors found something wrong with 2 separate little boys? You can't explain that logically. And you can't say that's the state's fault because it's the doctor who made the call to CPS. So why did you all not comply with getting the children back? I'm going to say that. Because there are pictures of Ryan Dean on social media with her children when they were smaller. And obviously she was going to the agency to, I guess, visit the child with the baby's father. So I'm going to say what happened. Because I'm not going to sit here and believe the state took 2 separate children 2 separate times. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And the information that I've gotten from the source, to me, is very credible. I've gotten to know the source. They are a dignified human being. And they have no reason to lie about this woman neglecting her children, never keeping a place to see for her children. Yes, Kay Bless, she had to stop going to see the kids. Exactly. So they're not going to keep reaching out to you if you're, one, not complying with whatever they asked you to do, whether it be with Miss Dean, Mr. Pettis, his mother, and for the busy bee that was in my chat a while ago saying I said he was locked up. I said, what reason would he have not to see his children or fight for his children unless he was incarcerated? I never said he was locked up. I said that's the only reason I could see a person not being able to talk to CPS workers about their children. But nonetheless, he could also have had a mouthpiece to call CPS. And now that we hear that his mother is on the ticket, then what was the excuse for the mother? Because you want me to believe all these 3 people that you're naming in this suit or whatever never once called CPS to say, hey, we're not hearing anything. We're not getting any letters, blah, blah, blah. We need to know the status of the children. We'd like to visit the children. And what did CPS tell you? Nothing. They didn't respond. I don't think I believe that. Because I know there are a lot of children in the state's care in the state of California. And I cannot see somebody denying you a visit to your child, relatives to visit the children, and or somebody stepping up to get custody of the said children when they have so many children in the state's care in California. And that's how I feel about that subject. The sickening part is Jacqueline and Trezell West. Okay. They're the second people, the finale. They get these children possibly for monetary gain. Well, what did they do with the children? Did they sell the children? Did they hurt the children, discard the children? The fact that they're saying the children are located near Cal City, then that goes to the assumption that the children never made it to Cal City. So if the children were found near Cal City, then that means they did leave Bakersfield, California. Okay? then that means the children left Bakersfield, California. And that was always a question in this case. Many people were saying, well, did the kids ever make it? Did the kids ever make it? Because we've got cam footage of Jacqueline and Giselle entering into a van from their house days before this report with only 4 children. Now they're talking about remains found near Cal City, so perhaps the children did make it to Cal City. Or the children were murdered in Bakersfield and dropped off in Cal City while the parents were moving. I don't know. But this is horrific no matter what. Because nonetheless, those remains belong to somebody. Or somebody plural. And that's the sick part of this story. Is that the remains do belong to somebody. And I think it's crazy that nobody has mentioned to the public that they found remains. I understand it's an open investigation, but I've never heard of an agency not saying, hey, we found remains. Open investigation or not. There are probably lots of open investigations in the state of California. What does it have to do with reporting to the public that you found remains? Another issue I have with the family filing a suit with the county is that you should know the county's going to fight tooth and nail pertaining to their decision to remove the children out of Ron Dean's care. And at that point, whatever you all did not reveal pertaining to the Cal City boys, that all of that info is going to come out and be revealed to the public. So anything you've left out and omitted in your Facebook posts and your interviews, the public is going to find out the whole truth to the very first day they got a call about those boys. When they went to the house, how many times they went, what made them take the children, what was seen at the doctor, the hospital, all that's going to be revealed. So if you're lying about anything pertaining to these children, the state's going to fight tooth and nail to reveal every call they ever made, every visit, hospital visits, doctor's analysis, all that's going to come out. Yes, everyone's dirt going to come out. So if you've been lying, saying, oh, we followed the rules, nobody never called us, you should best believe the state's going to do their damn job to reveal nobody never called us. Nobody never contacted us. The doctor contacted us to tell us, hey, the child had a broke femur. So ask yourself that, if we're going to blame the state. How do you break a child's femur? It is the hardest bone in the body. For you to break a femur on an infant means you deliberately hurt the child, or the child fell out of a window. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We're not talking about an adult. We're not talking about an 8 or 9-year-old running and playing and fell. We're talking about an infant. So how does an infant break his own leg? But somehow you want to blame this on the state of California. You also want to blame on baby number 2, who didn't come into the world with functioning lungs. And he could not breathe on his own. And he went into the NIC unit. So what does that situation have to do with baby number 1 with the broke femur? And mind you, these are 2 separate incidents at 2 separate times. But the state's at fault. The state didn't know you, Mr. Pettis, your mother, or Ryan Dean. And you want me, a sane 50-year-old woman, to believe somebody decided to sneak in the middle of the night and break one child's leg. The state took that child. And then a year later, she's knocked up with another child. And that child doesn't have a functioning lungs. And then that child is removed out of her custody. But this is the fault of the state of California. This is bullshit, and you know it. And I don't think your lawyers know everything. And I don't believe you're telling them everything. I do not. The fact that the lawyer barely knew where the child's remains were found tells me everything I need to know. He's not abreast on the situation. Now, the fact that these adoptive parents didn't search for the children, have not spoken for the children, of course, they look guilty. Guilty as hell. Grandparents, relatives, all of them. Do they know something? Possibly so. But nonetheless, it's a sick situation. And there is fault with these people. And the children, yes, were placed with the wrong people. But that is the gist of foster care. You do not know who's going to get the said child. And children leave horrible situations. And I do believe these children came from horrible situations. Or they wouldn't have been, the state wouldn't have been called from the hospital when the children went into the hospital. Somebody called, which would be the doctor. And then the doctor called the state. And then it went from there, and the children enter into the state's care. And as I said, two separate incidents you cannot logically explain on a mother's watch or whomever were watching the children. The lawyer makes it clear that the parents were not brought up on any charges for neglect or abuse of the children. They were not around when these allegations took place. So once again, explain logically how two separate children will be removed from a parent and the children are not the same age. Make it make sense. You're still responsible for your children, no matter if you were around when they got hurt or not. And if you have a habit of leaving your children with any Tom, Dick, and Harry, leaving your children in a place that's not conducive to appropriate child rearing, safety, then you are liable for your child. You are liable for who keeps your child, babysits your child, feeds your child. You are responsible. So it doesn't matter that you were not there when somebody hurt your kid. Is it a possibility that you've had issues before with your said kids, and then on that last time, your child was removed? Baby number one with the broke femur. And yes, I had heard no one ever faced charges for the broke femur. Why is that? Because in this commentary, the lawyer says, oh, they weren't around. Somebody else did it. Okay, well, who's that somebody else, and why are they not facing the piper for cracking the leg of a baby that's a couple of months old? Make me understand. Hell no, they're not going to give you your kid back. Their leg is cracked because they don't know who did it. They weren't there, the doctor, the state. So they did what they thought was best. Hey, we're going to remove this child out of here until we investigate and figure out what happened. Who's to say if the state really wanted to let the child go back? I don't know because I wasn't there. And I don't have the documents to say either way. But you have to use common sense. I'm a state worker. I see your child's leg is cracked. Do I really want to send your child back to the house, even though you said you had nothing to do with it? How do I know that if I send the child back, his other leg won't get cracked? Are you woke? How do I know who's all coming in the house, being around the children? Adults, older children. Do you see where I'm going? Now you factor in baby number two, who comes in the world with non-functioning lungs. What does that have to do with the cracked femur on baby number one? Stop passing the buck and making excuses. These children were neglected. And the mother did whatever she wanted to do while she had these said children. And she wasn't doing what she needed to do with baby number two. And you can't explain logically losing two children in less than a year. And a baby sitting in the NICU unit needing its mother's care and touch, father's touch, grandmother's touch. But yet you say the state didn't tell you anything. The state just removed the kids and never consulted with you about anything. But that makes no sense because there's photos of the mother with the baby father holding the children in a DHS office. So explain that photograph. Yeah. You can't. You can't explain it. And that's the point. Is it right that these people file a lawsuit if they didn't follow through with trying to get the children back? Do you actually think you deserve money from the state to get money from a lawsuit for negligence of them placing the children with Jacqueline and Giselle West and wrongful death? How do you deserve the money? I'm just asking. Do you deserve the money to get monies for these children? Summer Wells. I have an update pertaining to Summer Wells. Thank you for joining me. Where's the bio family for Summer Wells and her brothers? I find it very strange, just like this case of Cal City, and it's only befitting that I talk about both of them in the same live. She's been missing 6 months. Her brothers were removed from the Wells care at 6 weeks, but yet none of the children are in the care of the bio family. Why not? Why didn't the state place these boys with the Wells extended family? Where are they? We got all these rumors and rhetoric of sisters bringing forth allegations of sexual assault as children with Donald Wells, but yet that's the only conversation you have pertaining to the extended family out of Utah and other places. Why the hell you all don't fight for the kids? You're bringing up all this stuff about Donald's past and he's possibly touched the little girl inappropriately. Okay. But why are you not the same persons to fight to get custody of the said remaining children? What about his parents? Why aren't they fighting to get custody? Why didn't Grandis fight for custody of the children beforehand? She saw how they were living up there on the compound. She's a living witness. She stayed up there. Why would she even stay in that environment herself? 2, why would she allow her daughter to live like that with these kids? 3, why didn't she ever fight for custody of the said children? Once again, more BS and negligence on these extended family members. They stood idly by, knowing the circumstances, and didn't do a damn thing. WJHL is the source. Investigators have no updates on Summer Wells' disappearance over 6 months later. For more than 6 months, the case of missing 5-year-old Summer Wells has captivated people across the country and even the world. It started with an endangered child alert issued by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation on June 15th, and the next day progressed to an Amber Alert that remains active today. As a few community members gathered Tuesday afternoon at Borden Park in Kingsport to pray for the safe return of the missing Hawkins County girl, her parents have had the same prayers since she disappeared. Summer Wells' reward fund reaches nearly $74,000. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound, Summer's mother, Candace Blywell, said in June. That plea from Summer's mom was echoed by her father months later. Me and Candace know for a fact that Summer was abducted. We know that, Don Wells said in November. From day one, however, law enforcement has maintained there is no evidence that she was abducted. However, all avenues continue to be explored, including foul play and the very real possibility that she wandered off and became lost in the mountainous and rough terrain surrounding her home. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation released in December. The first ground search lasted almost 2 weeks, with law enforcement finding no evidence of an abduction. Like we said from day one, everything is still on the table. Everybody's a person of interest until we find Summer, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson said in November. Questions remain after neighbors described their experiences from June 15th. It was a jumbled mess. She was like, Summer's missing. I can't find her. I'm like, look, I heard a scream earlier. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm looking for her now, Jody Sue Brown recalled. But every day I wake up and I wonder what I could have done. The case and everyone surrounding Summer has been scrutinized on social media. Her parents often admit to receiving threats online. The only reason we put all of her pictures out there and the only reason we done all these things was to try to find Summer, but it turned into a living nightmare, Don Wells said. People have banded together to put up posters, social media posts, and billboards to help find Summer. We need one person to say something. That's all we need, Billboard organizer Brad Allen said, pleading anyone with information to come forward. In early December, nearly 6 months after her disappearance, ground search crews returned to Beach Creek to search the area that was far too overgrown for over the summer months to properly search, all to no avail. And as most of you know, there was a 2-day search for Summer Wells recently, and it ended with no significant developments. Investigators have executed numerous search warrants, collecting all potential evidence. We've spoken with anyone and everyone associated with the Wells family, in some cases more than once. This includes neighbors, acquaintances, and those working in the area the day she disappeared, the TBI released in early December. The case has left veteran law enforcement befuddled. I've been through a lot in the last 44 years, seen a lot, investigated a lot, but this is one of the top ones, Lawson said. Her parents have continued to beg for her return. We just wish Summer could come home, Don Wells said. Tuesday morning, News Channel 11 reached out to TBI for an update in the investigation and was told there are no updates, that the investigation is active and ongoing. It's an active and ongoing investigation. We're not going to stop until we determine what happened to her. And we're just taking it one day at a time, TBI spokesperson Leslie Earhart said at a press conference in June. Summer was reported missing from her home in Beach Creek area of Hawkins County in June, and the Amber Alert for Summer Wells remains active. If you have any information pertaining to the disappearance of her, 423-272-7121 or Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 1-800-TBI-5. This information is by WJHL.com. Thank you so much for joining me. Very sick story out of Rogersville, out of Cal City. I had something I wanted to say about Cal City just a minute. Was on the tip of my tongue and I can't even remember what it was. But both of the cases are very eerie and creepy. 2 boys missing out of Cal City, Bakersfield, 1 little girl missing out of Rogersville, Tennessee. Similarities and both differences. The one thing I've learned from both cases is that there's no extended bio family. We hear people talking, like I said, in the Cal City situation now, a father coming forward saying he misses children, yah. Then we have these people down here who have been clowns in this storyline. And one could say, well, if you didn't have anything to do with the disappearance of your child, discardment of your child, you sure in the hell don't act like it because your behavior is asinine and disrespectful. And who would behave this way if they weren't involved? And that's the message that the Wells have been sending from day one. No emotion, no crying, different versions of a story narrative, foolishness on social media, never looking for the child, never rallying for the child, but yet they miss her and want her home. And what will she be coming home to exactly? Where is Don's family? Why did the state not put those boy children in his family's custody? You have to ask that, and no one's asked. And I'm shocked. With all the content, alleged content brought forward on YouTube, nobody ever discusses why those boys are not placed with Don's family, Candace's family. There are no aunties or uncles that could take in the children. Why is that? Find it very strange. Very, very strange and peculiar. Nobody can take in the children from his family. Where are they? Where are these people? Where are the family members? Both of the stories are very sad to me. I can't even begin to understand what the hell is going on with Cal City right now. I'm very befuddled with what's going on out there, because I hate to see It's almost January, and law enforcement has found remains out there and never revealed it to the public. Why? Did something come back from pings, devices? Because I'd like to know that. 1 year in, you don't have anything pertaining to GPS on a car, cell phones, devices, who they talk to, apps. Very strange. What's come back in the case of Summer Wells? Devices, cell phones, pings on cars. What? Pings on phones. What? And like I said, where is the family? Why were the boys put in the state's care? Find it interesting. And why are these people in Cal City wanting to file a lawsuit with Kern County Department of Human Services? Because my thing is, what is the truth pertaining to why the children were removed out of the mother's care? Because something's off with this story as well. These lawyers say, well, they didn't notify Mr. Pettis and his mother. So I want you all to think about that comment for a minute. He and his mother are on documents. But yet, why wouldn't you all have let him take the children initially when the children were removed from Ron Ding's care? See, make it make sense. You say, oh, after the fact, nobody contacted us. Well, let's go back. When the children were removed one at a time, why was he and his mother not able to get the children? See, you didn't mention that, Mr. Attorney. 1 and 2. You left that part out of this live you did. You see, and that's where you messed up. You never said, this is the reason why they didn't get the children initially. Because when you do the demographics and timeline of the boys being in foster care to adoption, you're talking about a year. So you want me to believe logically in 1 year, nobody, including the bio mother, bio father, the bio grandmother, Miss Brenda, couldn't have gotten the children in 1 year. Yes, they were doomed from birth. Exactly, real deal. And I think it's time that people own that they were. Because this lawyer is talking around the subject and not dealing with the subject at hand, which is, if this man was living with his mother and he stepped up to say, hey, I want my child. I just found out that you have my children, or one, let's say one, because they were taking one at a time. Then why did the state not give Mr. Pettis the child originally? Number 2, why didn't you get the second child when that child was removed? Yeah, that's what I thought. You didn't say anything about that. You just said, oh, they placed the children up for adoption and didn't let us know. But the point is, why did you and your mother not get the children when they were first removed from Ryan Dean? You left that part out. I'm sure she didn't know everything. Then we go over to East Tennessee, and we have these boys in state's care. No guarantee that they will stay together in a home. And most people like to adopt babies because they're just easier to deal with, infants, than school-age children. Where are the Wells family members? Why is there no one rallying for the children to get the children? Did anybody ever reach out to the state to say they'd like to take in the Wells children? I'm curious. Is it a matter of the state being afraid to give any relatives out of state or in-state access to the children because they're afraid that possibly they'll allow Don and Candy around the children? And I can understand that, depending on what they found to remove the children. And that's another thing that we keep going over and over. Why were the children removed 6 weeks later and not day one when Summer Wells went missing? I think both stories are the same to me. None of these children needed to be in the care of the people who gave birth to them. That's obvious. Summer Wells and her brothers had no business being procreated with these two people, Don and Candy. And those Cal City boys didn't need to be procreated by Ryan Dean and Mr. Pettis if indeed he's the father of both children. Because don't you find it strange? Two separate stories, opposite sides of the globe, and they're both jacked up with missing children in the storyline and CPS being involved in the storyline. Because they both have the one common denominator. The children were not well provided for, and the children were not wanted. Because if the children were wanted, we wouldn't be talking about them. And that's just the bottom line. The state would have never been called. Nobody would have ever made it to the hospital for a doctor to render the state's involvement. That's that. CPS wouldn't be investigating anybody for child neglect, abuse, and there wouldn't be a missing child in Rogersville, Tennessee, or two missing little black boys out of Cal City in Bakersfield, California. As I said, eerily similar and also different. Some children just don't have a chance. And as I've stated, we don't choose our parents. We don't choose to come here. But nonetheless, we have the right to sustain life and be treated with dignity and respect. But some of us are not afforded that opportunity because the people who bring us here have issues and or just don't give a damn about giving us a decent life. And they use every attempt to blame everybody else for their downfalls and their mishaps and their problems and their vices. But in the end, it is their choosing to follow through to try to rear children. You're entitled to your perception. Summer Wells, her brothers, Cal City boys. But in the end, none of these children had a chance with the people that brought them here. And it's sad. So here we go back to Cal City. Where is Ryan Dean? You heard a commentary from the father in this interview. Where is the biological mother now? Where were you? You ran out of breath to let the world know that these were your children, and you fell off shortly after. And one of the relatives came forward to rally for the children. And we never saw your mother, your father, any of your relatives rallying directly to the camera for your children. Just a cousin of Mr. Pettis. Why is that? And then many months later, almost a year, we hear from Mr. Pettis. Why is that? So that's where I have a problem with you, Mr. Pettis, wanting to file a lawsuit against Kern County. Because where were you when Ryan Dean came out saying she heard her children were missing? You give us commentary that you heard through social media, blah, 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 but you never came forward. And even if you didn't want to be seen on camera, you could have done an interview with just the audio of your voice. Nobody had to see what you look like. Nobody had to see what you look like. I believe in my heart and my spirit, you didn't come forward to the public because you didn't want the scrutiny and the shame that you, alongside the bio mother, failed the children. And I can tell you, waiting 10 months into a storyline is atrocious. And no matter what you're saying in this commentary, I can't have any sympathy for you because you never came forward in the beginning to say, yes, I'm the father of these children. This is what happened. Nothing. It was just Ryan Dean speaking, but still not telling the whole truth to what happened to the two small children for them to get out of her care. putting up crazy shit on Facebook about being a good mother, this and that. Well, if you're a good mother, why would the state take your children? Why would a doctor deem you unfit to have your kids? Because in the end, it's the doctor that makes the initial call, not CPS. So as I tell people, you're looking for somebody to blame, why don't you all start with the head knockers, the people that procreated the children, the people who made the children, the people who are responsible for the children, the people who are supposed to be watching the damn kids. Stop blaming the state. Stop blaming the doctor. Stop blaming every damn body else, because they weren't the ones watching the kids. They weren't the ones rearing the children. It was the parents who were supposed to be watching the kids, leaving their children with decent people. That's who's to blame. And then sadly, the children went from house to house and then into the care of Jacqueline and Trezelle West. And now possibly they are deceased. This is shameful and it's sad, because these babies deserve better than what they got. Cal City and Summer, they deserve way better than what they got. And too many people sit idly by and see the signs of child abuse and neglect and do nothing. Whisper to the neighbors, whisper to other people, but won't even call CPS or the police department to say, hey, I'm noticing something over here in apartment A. Something ain't right. All you got to do is make the call and let the chips fall where they may. But people don't like to get involved. And then people like to cry wolf later about what they saw when the damage has been done. The children are missing and are deceased. It's a little too late. It's a little too late. See, there are things that some of you don't know about this case, Cal City. You don't know anything about the parents. You don't know the true intent of the parents. And I think it's obvious that this is just another payday for these kids. People have been judging Jacqueline and Trezelle as using the kids as cash babies. Well, what is Mr. Pettis now doing, filing a lawsuit against Kern County? How is that different? You want a payout for not being around for your children, but yet you say the state fell off and never contacted you about your kids. I just find that hard to believe. Well, bring a receipt. Chatting in the chat about what somebody did means nothing to me. I've heard this 1,000 times, people saying what somebody did, and they don't even know the parents. They couldn't have done what they were supposed to do, or we wouldn't be talking about the kids. The kids would still be in their custody. The kids would still be alive where we could see and hear them. We wouldn't even have a story if somebody did what they were supposed to be doing. And my thing is this. Listen how ridiculous that sounds. They did what they were supposed to do. Well, why were the children removed in the first place? How about that? How about just starting at the fucking beginning? Why were the children removed anyway? Scratch Jacqueline and Trezelle. Scratch the other foster homes. Why were the children removed in the first place? Because you see, had they been doing their damn job, they would have never been removed in the first place to get to point A, point B, and death. How about that? How about starting with the head knocker? So you're looking for somebody to blame, but the parents are the ones to blame, because if allegedly they had a mother, a father, and a grandmother, you want me to believe the state said, I'm not getting ready to contact any of these people to take care of these kids. That don't even make any logical sense. And I'm no longer going to indulge in listening to any other more bullshit about these children. Because as I said, a doctor found fault in the health care of each child pertaining to Cal City. And it is what it is. And in the case of Summer Wells, these parents are negligent in their child rearing skills as well. And one child is missing and 3 are now in the state's care. So the state, found something in fault with the Wells to take away their 3 boys. And where are their bio family? So instead of worrying about who did what, said what to whom, how about where are you all to step in to raise these kids? A head knocker is the person that's supposed to be in charge. That's what a head knocker is. It's storming here in East Tennessee. I'm going to check out of here because the weather's bad. That's my information. If you want to go back to the beginning to go get the source for all this information pertaining to each case, KGET is the Cal City update, and WJHL is the source for Summer Wells. I don't have any empathy for any of these people involved, and I think it's very crass that Mr. Pettis would have the audacity to file a lawsuit against Kern County. I just think it's crass, and I think it's low rent. And I think he should have been around in the beginning and made it known who he was and what happened in his version according to the children. Coming on the scene 10 months later, it's just low rent to me. And that leads me to believe he's only in it for monetary gain. So to me, he's no different than Jacqueline and Trezelle West. How are you different? Yes, that's my point. If they were doing the right thing, the children would still be with the bio family. It's heartbreaking. Exactly. If you want to donate to the channel, $Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you all so much. Prayers for these babies. The truth be revealed to what happened to the boys in Cal City. Prayers for Summer Wells. As most of you know, remains were found in Knox County. I do not know if this has anything to do with the disappearance of Summer Wells. It could be anybody at this point because we do have people missing in the area. I do not know anything. I will wait for the information to come in from the forensic team. And no matter whose remains they are, they did belong to somebody. And that's the sad part of the story, is that they belong to someone. And the same for the remains out in California. Even if they do not belong to the Cal City boys or one of the boys, they do belong to somebody. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. And if you're rearing children and you don't think you can no longer handle the job, please hand the baton over to somebody who can take in your children. And my best advice is to just use a condom or birth control, and you don't have to worry about getting pregnant. You won't have to worry about the burden of carrying a child and not being able to take care of the child, bonding with the child, whatever situation arises with you in the child rearing situation. Just protect yourself and don't get pregnant and don't make a child with a woman. And you don't have to be running to the news with a story or a version. And you don't have to report your children missing when you know you're the reason that they're missing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you don't have to face scrutiny because your children were removed out of your care or from the baby mother or baby father. Use a condom and use birth control. And you can live your life as you see fit. And you can procreate when you're ready. When you do believe that you can be responsible mentally, physically, and financially. Financially, mentally responsible. And morally responsible. That's my message. Prayers for the truth. The Cal City boys and Summer Wells. And also the care of her brothers. Thank you all so much. This is Everyday Shenanigans. You're welcome, babe.